So I'm so glad that you guys are here, that you're interested in dream life. Let me just qualify some stuff. Just because you're starting to pay attention to your dreams does not mean that you have to lose all sense of your normal thinking and rational behavior. And please don't escape off into Weirdville about dreams. We try to teach. We teach people about prophecy. We teach people how to interpret visions that they see. We teach people how to understand and get a vision and then make sense of those things, and practical ways to practice those things. Those are in some of our other teachings. But I said all that to assure you that we've taken every precaution possible to keep daffiness out of this. We don't want to be hyper-spiritual, crazy, believing Christians that just, not that, God, it's good, but you're just going to drive people nuts. You know what I mean? So we don't want to do that. We want to avoid that. How many of you guys feel like you'd rather avoid that? Okay, you don't want to drive people crazy with, hyper-spirituality and all that stuff. So listen, this class on Dream Interp, what we're offering you is a way to understand your dreams. And in the teaching, you'll discover that most of your dreams are about you. Like a vast majority of your dreams. So that right there should cut off a bunch of daffiness. Well, I had this dream about so-and-so, and I think it means this, and I'm going to go to that person and tell them. And I will give you guys some ways to deal with dreams that you have like that you'll be able to handle appropriately. And just like with prophecy, when you have you feel like you have a word for somebody else. We have these like little checks and balances that you can go through. But just be ready. This is going to be very exciting. I'm really excited for you. It's amazing when you start opening yourself up to hear the voice of God. Because He wants to talk to you. And He's got a lot to say. And there's a lot of stuff going on in your heart. And that's the next thing I want to talk about before we get started with the curriculum. Is that having been involved in understanding dream language and trying to put these symbols together and figure out what is God saying, I've come to find that your dreams are so intimate. They come from the deepest depths of your heart. And the better I've gotten at understanding dreams, it's amazing to me. People will come up to me and they'll go, "Hey, Dave, I had this really weird dream." And they tell me all about it. And I'm like going, "I just saw you naked." And I don't mean like literally. I mean they took me to a very secret place in their heart and they had no idea. Because they didn't understand the dream. They didn't understand the language. And so I would say as we go through this class and as we move toward doing some practical application and some dream interp, if there's ever a moment where, let's say we're using your dream as an example, and we start interpreting this dream, and I'll tell you how to understand if an interpretation is correct or incorrect. Ultimately, the interpretation belongs to the Lord, but we have an inner witness. We'll get to that. Anytime you feel like, whoa, this is getting too personal, I'm exposing too much of myself in this group, and anytime anybody in the room says, okay, let's move on to the next dream. We're not going to say another thing about it. And I'll be like, oh, is that, no, I promise, no winky weirdness or whatever. We'll just move on to the next thing, and that'll be the end of it. Because by the time we're done, you will see how deep this can go. So let's just talk about what it is to dream, like defining dreams and defining visions. So I looked it up in Webster's dictionary. A dream is a sequence of images. It's a sequence of images passing through a sleeping person's mind. That's how the word dream is defined. So I looked up the word vision. And Webster said that vision was a mental image. Sounds a lot like a dream, oddly enough. And then, of course, we should always go to the Word. In Job 33:15, it says, in a dream, a vision of the night. And we'll go there and read that scripture here in just a minute. But he's talking about his dream time and his vision time. And what I want you to understand is that dreams and visions are very, very closely related. The Bible makes very strong connection between the two and almost uses those words interchangeably. Not quite, but almost. They're very, very similar. Matter of fact, the same word that Job used for dreams is the same thing that we see over in Hebrews, which is all the way on the other side of the time spectrum. Job is the earliest book ever written, and Hebrews being one of the last, not the last, but one of the last books written. We have this really nice parallel, and they're using these words interchangeably. In Hebrews 1:1, it says that God spoke through the prophets, and you'll learn that He speaks through the prophets through dreams and visions, right? And so, and then in Hebrews 11, we know it's God's Hall of Fame of Faith, right? It's where all the believers are. We're like, hey, these are great examples of people who did faith right. You know, down towards the end, Joseph is mentioned. He's in the Hall of Fame of Faith, and Joseph was a dream interpreter. Matter of fact, it'll say Joseph, the interpreter of dreams, and then it goes on to tell you why he was such a great example of faith. But both dreams and visions involve viewing images on the screen of one's mind. Does that make sense? So they're both kind of the same like that. And often we would think of a dream as the flow of images while we're sleeping, whereas a vision would be a flow of images while we're awake. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay. So quickly, I just want to talk about daydreaming, these things that we're defining. I think that daydreaming is another way of utilizing the visionary process. I daydream. Sometimes I daydream on purpose. I'm careful to not allow my daydreams become vain imaginations, right? Like you can't let it's easier for a daydream to slip into sin, right? Okay, so I won't dig any deeper. I feel like you guys understand what I'm saying. But I think it's a great way of utilizing the visionary process. I think it's important to learn how to become a proficient daydreamer, and so probably not when you're supposed to be having your mind dedicated to another task. That'd probably be a bad time to start daydreaming. But a daydreamer needs to learn to present the eyes of their heart to God. That's really the challenge with daydreaming. I've got to present the eyes of my heart to the Lord and ask Him to fill them with a divine flow of dreams, with visions of godly imaginations. You know, things that provoke me to acts of loving kindness. So if I'm daydreaming about, I'll just keep it very simple. Maybe I'm sitting down and I've got some time to think about where I want to go to lunch, and I allow my mind to wander. Maybe I'll go to Qdoba for lunch, and I wonder what would happen. I wonder what it would look like if I bought everybody in the room lunch. What would that take? You know, I start daydreaming about that. How would that work? What kind of money would I need? Is it noon or is it 11:30? Because there's a totally different number in that, in that place. But you can become proficient in your godly imagination. I know that's a very fleshly example, but I think I trust that you guys get the picture. But people argue, they take this scripture out of Ecclesiastes and they argue about daydreams. Ecclesiastes 5:7, it says, "Talk is cheap like daydreams and other useless activities." Okay. Fear God instead. Good advice. It's good advice. The fear of the Lord is important. There are some things about Ecclesiastes that you need to know that really take its own class, which I'm just not going to get into tonight. But what you got to understand, what's happening, is that Holy Spirit was giving us a contrast between Ecclesiastes and Proverbs. Okay, it was both written by Solomon, right? But Ecclesiastes was written with the wisdom of man minus God's influence, minus the Spirit of living God. While Proverbs was written with all of man's wisdom plus the Spirit of God. And so that's why they're different. And so sometimes when people quote Ecclesiastes to you as hey, well, this is the Bible and this is what it says. Look, the Bible is not a documentary, it's a commentary. Okay, and that probably deserves its own class. But talk is cheap. Like daydreaming, of course. Like if you're just having these vain imaginations and you're wasting all this time and your mind should be on other things, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about purpose-filled time that you set aside. Some might even call it a type of meditation, where you say, okay, now I'm going to sit down. This is the time and space that I've created so that I can just wonder. So I can wonder with God. And wonder is a really good thing.
It is.
Wonder is a great instrument, a great tool in your relationship with God. You should never lose wonder. Husbands, you should never lose wonder of your wives. And wives, you should never lose wonder of your husbands. And wonder is a very good thing. We should never get to that place where we're like, I just know every little thing about you and I don't really even want to talk over dinner because I already know you. And who can know the depths of a person's heart? Only God can, which tells me it goes pretty stinking deep.
Right.
And so, if we get to a place where we feel like, okay, I know this person through and through, and I can even finish their sentences, man, it sounds to me like you're at a plateau, and you better put your climbing shoes on, because there's a whole other hill in front of you. And so, we have to keep wonder in front of us. I got to pick it up just a little bit, you guys. Let's talk a little bit about the science of dreams. Yeah, I just have a lot of notes, and I really want to get you this information, and there's more important stuff for me to be talking about. But just to give you some idea, like that symbol that I showed you guys on Sunday, and the name Alpha Theta Delta, just so there isn't weirdness. I got this all from science study of sleep. I'm sure it's got some kind of ology name. I do not know it, but sleepology. What a cool job. I think I need some practical application. What are you doing? Kick the chair like, I'm studying. Whew, that was an intense session of study right there. But sleep labs have proven that everyone... Somebody says, well, I haven't remembered a dream in 100 years, and that might be true, and I'm going to teach you how to dream. There's actually ways that you can learn how to dream. It's just really cool. I'm going to give you ways to do it, and we're going to need your dreams. As a matter of fact, I'm going to milk you guys. I need your dreams so we have some stuff to interpret at the end of class. So I got to activate the dreamers to start dreaming so that we have some material to work with. But it's going to be really fun. I'll even talk to you guys a little bit about lucid dreaming, which hopefully we'll have our own study on it. But everyone dreams 1 to 2 hours each night during a certain period of sleep known as alpha level sleep. Alpha level. So that's after you've fallen asleep, you enter alpha level sleep. It's a very shallow sleep. You're easily woken up. You're easily disturbed. It's a very shallow level of sleep. Then, so you'll experience an alpha cycle every 90 minutes. You go through this cycle, right? And it begins with alpha, and then it goes to a deeper sleep called theta, and then finally the deepest of all sleep called delta sleep. Okay, I didn't make those words up. Those are actually the words that they use for the sleep cycles that we go through. And at the close of the first 90-minute cycle of each night, the individual returns to this alpha level sleep where he has a short 5-minute dream period. And then you go through another cycle. And the second time you hit the cycle, you get 10 minutes of dream. And then you go through another cycle. And then the next time, you hit an average of 15 minutes. And so on and so on. And if one sleeps for a full 8 hours, you can do the math. But if you sleep for a full 8 hours, the entire last hour, essentially, is spent in alpha level sleep. Which is pretty awesome. So the average person, come on in. The average person sleeping for 8 hours a night will dream 1 or 2 hours of that time. It's another good reason. We're going to talk about this later. I just keep trying to put the cart in front of the horse. But we'll talk about it later. Like, how come I can't sleep for 8 hours? Or, man, I wish I had that kind of time. I'm going to talk about why that's even going on in your life and in mine. Okay? But each level of sleep has its place, and I'm going to put it to you in the most simple terms possible. This is all scientific stuff that I was able to research, so I trust that you guys are all computer savvy. If you really want to go dig deeper, you're welcome to it. In the simplest way possible, here are the 3 stages. Alpha level is dream stage, right? Theta level, this is where the brain produces a high amplitude of theta waves. Those are actually brain waves that your body produces. And they're very slow waves. And if you awaken somebody during this stage, here's something interesting. If you awake somebody during theta stage, they might report to you that they weren't asleep. They might say, I haven't slept, or you know that you slept, but it doesn't feel like you slept all night long. You probably never got beyond theta level. Your brain probably shut off. If it didn't, you would go insane in 3 days. So you were probably in this theta level sleep. But the brain begins to produce bursts of rapid, rhythmic brain wave activity known as sleep spindles. Is that interesting? I thought it was interesting. So, and your body temperature starts to decrease, and your heart rate begins to slow, and it's at that point. See, what I like to say now, this is where I leave science, because what I think is happening is that we're getting in sync. We're finding the rhythm of the kingdom, and let me tell you why. Because after theta level, you enter delta level. Delta level is very, very deep sleep, and it's called delta level because those are now the brain waves that you're creating, delta waves. And this is where your healing occurs. This is where the body repairs itself. This is where, when people say, sleep it off or that'll feel better in the morning, they're talking about you need to spend time in delta level sleep because that's where your body does repair work. And I credit God with healing. Yep. I understand that He created our bodies to our cells regenerate and all that stuff. I believe that He authored all that, but I also believe that He's intimately involved in our bodies while we sleep. And so I feel like this theta level, like to me, it just sounds so obvious that our body is finding the rhythm of this sleep realm. Okay. And then when we enter it, we're able to find that very deep, restful sleep where our body begins to rejuvenate. It's very, very important. But this class deals with, we're going to stay in alpha level, because this class is about dreams, right? So that's probably all I'm going to talk about, theta and delta. But I did that, one, because I think it's very interesting, and two, so that we're not trying to, that's not like some weird cult sign or something. It's just the Greek letters, alpha, theta, delta. Okay? So, anyways, there it is. So alpha level sleep is where, how many of you guys have heard of REM, not the music group, but REM as in rapid eye movement, okay? Also a very, very good music group. If you don't have their CDs, you should have them all. But alpha level sleep is where we have this REM, this rapid eye movement. It's exactly what it sounds like. Your eyes are darting around and they're doing all kinds of things and they're moving. And this is you're actually watching the screen of your mind. That's what your body's trying to do. That's why your eyes move like that. So, when you have that dream and it's very wondrous, and you're trying to take it all in and process it all, that's why your eyes are... You're trying to take it all in. You're actually seeing what's being projected onto the screen of your mind. And here's what's interesting, you guys. Check this out. If you wake somebody up, and this would be the worst test subject ever, if you wake somebody up, if you prevent them from dreaming after close to 3 nights, so some people it's 2, some people it's 4, the average is 3. If you stop people from dreaming, they get to REM and you wake them up, and you let them go back to sleep and they get to REM and you wake them up, and then this happens again. After 3 days, this individual will begin to show the signs of a nervous breakdown. That means you can have theta level sleep, you can have delta level sleep, you can have entry level sleep. But if your dream life is disrupted, completely thrown off track for a period of 3 days, you will begin to have a nervous breakdown. Yeah, it's amazing. So dreams are an inner release mechanism. God created your body to work this way that it would help provide us with an emotional balance. It's very important. It helps us to maintain our sanity, which is very important. Okay. It's good. Dreams can be considered the guardians of our mental and emotional well-being. Isn't that nice? Okay, I'm gonna give you guys. It's gonna sound shorter than it is, but I'm gonna give you guys 7 reasons why we should listen to our dreams. This is my big case. I know you guys are all here, and that's awesome. But this is the case that I present to you to validate your desire to be here. Like, you're not off your rocker. Dream interp is not weird. It's not like just for the spiritual weirdies who want to sound all hocus pocusy. And thus the Lord Jehovah God saith unto thee through the scape of your dream. Oh God, come off it. Right? Okay. Okay, here's 7 reasons. If I had a whiteboard, I'd write them on it, but I don't, so you're just going to have to write fast. 7 reasons why we should listen to our dreams. First, God declared that He would speak through our dreams and visions in the Old Testament. He declared it. God said He would do it. He said He'd do it in the Old Testament. Some say Old Testament. All right. So God declared that He would speak through our dreams and visions in the Old Testament. Listen to Numbers, chapter 12 and verse 6. And He said, "Hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak unto him in a dream." Okay. Number 2. God declared that He did speak through dreams and visions in the Old Testament. So number 1 was that He would speak through dreams and visions. Number 2, He declared that He did speak. In Hosea 12:10 it says, "I have also spoken by the prophets, and I have multiplied visions and used similitudes by the ministry of the prophets."
What was that reference again?
Hosea 12:10, excuse me. Yep. And if I am moving kind of fast, just shout out at me, okay? It's most important that you get it, right? Okay. Number 3, God declares that He will, someone say will. God declares that He will communicate through dreams and visions in the New Testament. You want some proof? Acts 2:17. "And it shall come to pass in the last days, saith God, I will pour out of my Spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams." Now remember that dreams and visions are used almost interchangeably. So, fellas, if you're having a dream, it doesn't mean that you're an old man, necessarily. You understand? Or if you're older and you have a vision, you can't discredit and go, "Nah, I'm too old to have visions." Okay, because those words are used interchangeably, right? God just wants to speak with us. Acts 2:17. You're welcome. Number 4. God declares that He will counsel us at night through our dreams. Did you know that?
Yes.
You can receive counsel from God at night through your dreams. It is awesome. I mean, it's for me, it's like, this is exciting. You know, it's like God created this space. He had to do a little bypass surgery and get through our brain, right, and put us into a mini coma, right? But He did create a way. And if we don't get it, we go insane. If we don't get the peace of God ministered to us while we sleep, I'm talking about believers and non-believers. If we do not have that peace of God ministered to us while we sleep, you'll have a nervous breakdown. It's amazing to me. So where were we? Number 4, God declares that He will counsel us at night through our dreams. Check this out. In Psalm 16, verse 7, "I will bless the Lord who has counseled me. Indeed, my mind, my inner man, instructs me in the night." It's awesome, man. Here's what's also awesome. Check this out. Number 5. We're cruising right along. Rather than our dreams be fantastic. You know what I mean? Oh, I got the cure for world hunger. Yeah. I've got I know how to do the thing that's going to change the whole, flip the deal. And like that stuff can happen. But you guys, rather than our dreams being fantastic, dreams are calling us to change so we will not perish. They're helpful to you personally. Not like I dream off into Never Never Land. Like it's good for you today. It's helpful for you today. Your dream tonight will help prepare you for the day tomorrow and maybe not a minute more. You understand? And so sometimes that's really unimpressive. Sometimes people are like, oh, but I think it's better if I can dream out into the land of Never Neverville. Like, I believe in a practical God who wants to help me today, get me through today. He said, don't worry about tomorrow. You don't even know if you're getting tomorrow. My grace is only sufficient for today. No wonder why you're stressed about tomorrow. You don't have any grace to deal with tomorrow. All you have is grace to deal with today. So quit thinking about it. Just deal with what's happening right now. And then when tomorrow comes, it's going to have a bunch of different problems that you're not even thinking about anyway. And my grace will be sufficient for you then. But right now, deal with this. And look, guys, in Job 33, 14 through 18, it says, for God speaks once, yes, twice, yet man perceiveth it not. In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falls upon men and the slumberings upon the bed, then he openeth the ears of men and sealeth their instruction, that he may withdraw man from his purpose and hide pride from man, and keepeth back his soul from the pit and his life from perishing by the sword. Yeah, right? It's good, man. God gives you this stuff to keep you from perishing. He's like, man, I gotta get through to you. I can't get through to you unless you're almost in a coma. But here we go. I'm going to do it, man. We ought to talk about Job. Maybe later. Okay, number 6. God does very significant things within dreams. I'm sorry, that's not more impressive. But it is what it is. God does very significant things. So why should I believe in my dreams? Because Pastor told you that God does significant things through your dreams. But I'm going to prove it to you. And I just can't do it in one night. But for example, God established the Abrahamic covenant in a dream. He established an entire covenant that affects you and I today. And he did that in a dream. I'm going to read to you out of Genesis in 15. I'm going to read verses 12, 13, and 18. So if you're taking notes, just write Genesis 15. You read the whole chapter. You ready? And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, an horror of great darkness fell upon him. A horror of great darkness fell upon him. And God said to Abraham, in the same day the Lord made covenant with Abraham, saying. So here he is in this deep sleep, in deep, deep darkness, and God cuts covenant with this guy. Pretty outstanding. Okay, number 7. This one's pretty cool. You guys will like this. God grants supernatural gifts through your dreams. I want a gift. I just want to be a what? I just want to be a healer. I want to be more prophetic. I want to have a gift of whatever it is that you're seeking. Man, I'm not saying that he only grants them during your dream time, but he does grant supernatural gifts. Matter of fact, arguably the best gift ever given that will never be given again was got during a dream. Did that make any sense? In 1 Kings chapter 3, I'm going to read 5, 9, 12, and 15. I'm just going to cut out some bunny trails. 1 Kings chapter 3. In Gibeon, the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream by night, and God said, ask, what shall I give thee? Pretty cool. You know what Solomon says? Give therefore thy servant an understanding heart to judge thy people, that I may discern between good and bad. For who is able to judge this thy so great a people? And I'll skip to what God answered him. Behold, I have done according to thy words. Lo, I have given thee a wise and an understanding heart, so that there was none like thee before thee. Neither after thee shall there arise any unto thee. And Solomon awoke, and behold, it was a dream.
Wow.
Yeah. It's way awesome. Way awesome. And that's why I'm so excited about it, you guys. Because God has chosen to communicate with mankind through dreams. It's not his only way of communication. But he does communicate with us through our dream time. He guides us. He counsels us. All this happens through our dreams, you guys. He establishes covenants. He makes promises with us through our dreams. He grants us gifts in our dreams. He utilizes dreams from Genesis to Revelation. And he declared that he would continue to use them even in these last days. I mean, it's not just arguable, it's obvious. I mean, it's written throughout. Check this out, you guys. Here's an interesting fact. When you total up all the dreams and visions in the Bible, and the stories and the actions which come out of those dreams and visions, you have close to 1/3 of the entire Bible. Which is equal to the size of the New Testament. Pretty awesome. Don't you think? Dreams are a central way that God has chosen to communicate with us. They really are. And they have to be given the weight that they deserve. And I'll tell you what, you guys. Many people are interested in this topic. Many people want to know more about this dream time. And I'll tell you why they're afraid to go after it. Because people get weird.
Yeah.
Okay? Don't get weird. I'm going to teach you how to do this, and it's going to be very, very natural. And it's going to make a lot of sense. And if you stay within the parameters, you're going to find huge reward, huge blessing. You're going to hear God like you never heard him before. You're going to be in touch with places in your heart that you didn't even know existed. Depths of your spirit that you didn't even know were in you. And if you're like, man, I can't even remember the last time I had a dream, you are in a good place. You are. Because, man, dream time is absolutely sacred to me. Because it's so powerful, it's so special, it's so unique. It's so wonderful. You can go anywhere. Limits are off. You can see all kinds of things. We'll talk about it. But this class offers you a method. And that's all. I had to do a lot of reverse engineering to get this all on paper. Because I don't always use this method today. But I'm going to teach you how to interpret dreams without a dream dictionary, without trying to figure out what a purple ball symbolizes through this thing. You know, like it's very real. It's very practical. And this is a method of interpreting your own dreams. Okay? As we start to break down the process of how to begin interpreting a dream, we can offer help to somebody else. In this might mean this. What do you think about this? And present them with ideas. Ultimately, the interpretation belongs to God, and the dreamer will have an inner witness. So you might say, what do you think about this? And immediately inside they're like, oh, yeah, totally. Okay, I'll talk more in depth about that in the weeks to come. But listen, really, only after you've become skilled in your dream language should you offer to interpret somebody else's dream. Right? Don't even offer. If somebody says, man, I had this really weird dream. Oh, tell me about it. And they say, da-da-da-da-da. You can say, well, I might have a couple of thoughts, but that's it. But I wouldn't sit down with them and try to hash it out and say, hey, this is what God is saying to you. Because God's not the only voice you're going to hear in dream space. But it is sacred space, so you don't have to worry about demonic voices. We'll talk about that later, which is really good. But there's no reason why you can't try to interpret your own dreams. There's no reason why you shouldn't want to understand what's happening in your own dream space, in your own dream time. And you'll be surprised that you might have very vivid dreams about other people that absolutely have nothing to do with other people. And I'll explain that all to you guys. We'll learn how to do it, but we have to take it piece by piece and in stride. Otherwise, it just becomes really confuddled. But it's much easier than you think, and it's much more real than you think. It's much more normal. I believe that we're called to be naturally supernatural. That we're just supposed to live that way. That it should be a normal part of our everyday lifestyle, that we communicate with our God. And not that you're not in awe of this awesome God you serve, but you should be thoroughly unimpressed. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Why unimpressed? Because it's normal. It's normal for God to heal people. It's normal for God to meet my needs according to His riches and glory. It's normal for God to talk to me in the nighttime. It's normal for me to get counseling. It's normal for me to wake up with a weird dream. Yeah. That's normal. Because God's talking to me. Yeah. Right? Okay. So, in the weeks to come, you are going to learn how to dream. We're going to talk about that next week. I know, I wish I could just give it to you tonight, but we can't start another one. Yep. Then we're going to start looking at discerning self-dreams. I'll give you guys some practical boundaries, like the do's and don'ts, to really, really help in your own. And then we'll either set up a class at Lily Bray on Wednesday, or maybe we'll meet on a Saturday or something. I don't know. We'll just see how it works for everybody. And we'll come in and we'll do some exercises. I love doing exercises. I love to make sure that, you guys are here. You gave up your time and your energy and your evening to be here. I want to make sure that you leave knowing how to do what we're trying to teach you how to do. Whether you use it or not, you got it, which is good. Okay. How many of you guys are excited? Have I convinced anybody? You guys were already convinced when you came in. Have I helped to solidify that this isn't just some weird... You don't have to be the total artistic, not into logical things. You don't have to be off in left field to work in dream space. And just if you're on the other side of that fence, if you're, whatever they call the other side of that, task-oriented, I call them smart people. If you're that person, you don't have to ignore your dreams either. Or think that there's some weird irrational thing. They're there to help you, And the cool thing about your dreams is they help you whether you realize it or not. Clearly, you're not all insane, right? And you didn't know that was happening, but that was happening. But there's a way to get in touch and to take it a little bit deeper, and that's what this is all about. That's what the Circle of Dreamers is all about. It's what we want to accomplish. Amen.